This is seriously getting out of hand. Before I get called out for apparently not understanding their concepts that they have in mind or that they're trying to push on people, okay, like literally, they just try to lecture people about industry standards when they are not even within the industry in the first place. By the way, 700 used to be Woodlands to Shenton Way. It was via Woodlands Avenue 3, Woodlands Road, Bukit Panjang Road, and then BK. That was the old route. But there is a reason why this rapid bus concept failed and LTA never even tried to revive it again. So for people who happen to be visually impaired, I'm just going to read what they typed. Detecting the rapid is usually done through usage of onboard transponders which communicate with radio receivers beside the road to let it know that it's approaching the junction. Detecting other buses already at the junction is done using something called glide, as in GLIDE, where it senses the presence of another vehicle on the road using pressure plates, quote unquote pressure plates, hidden in the road. So for the Service 700 rapid bus in the past, it was more of this. I apologize to my viewers who happen to be from LHD countries, because countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Japan, they are RHD. So I'm gonna draw this diagram using an RHD road, I would say. So essentially, to put it simply, it is just called rigging traffic lights. So let's say you have a rapid bus approaching, and then there's like some pressure plate, hidden pressure plate underneath the road. I mean, below the asphalt, that kind of thing, that detects the bus. Going over it, it detects the wheels because the wheels are the ones that are exerting the force downwards. I mean, that's how pressure plates work, right? So, and then there's also that transponder that gives the signal to the traffic light. So when that happens, even if let's say the other traffic light has like 79 seconds, no, this one would just drop to like, I don't know, maybe say it would drop to like 5 seconds left. So it'll basically rig the traffic light in favor of said rapid bus. Not really local buses like other buses along the road, but the buses that are rapid, meaning they don't just have, I mean, the pressure plates, they're on the road, right? Because they have to like detect that the bus is even there in the first place. But the difference is that like the rapid buses, they would have this transponder, tagged transponder thingy, which would help to rig the lights in the bus's favor, right? So only rapid buses have the transponders and local buses don't have the transponders, meaning only the rapid buses are able to send signals to the traffic lights to rig them in their favor. Now, how many pressure plates there are on the road, I have no idea, because imagine a scenario whereby there are like lots of cars in front, just saying cars because it's easier to say, and then there is that rapid bus behind. So do you have to put like pressure plates at like how many pressure plates exactly do you need at the road, like how big they are, if the bus happens to be trapped behind other vehicles along the road? Like, does it still even work? I mean, obviously the transponder is able to like send a signal, right? But again, this thing, it looks good on paper, but it's just not easy to implement it in real life. Now, I commend people in the past for like giving this a go, even though it eventually failed. But here's the thing, there's a reason why this failed. Because, again, I'm just saying this very simply. If you have a rapid bus here, a rapid bus here, a rapid bus here, and then another rapid bus here, and then all of them, they send the signals to rig the traffic lights, who would get priority? Like, are you trying to say that all these buses would eventually just collide with one another and cause a massive accident at the junction? Yeah. And not just that, it's like when you're on a very very busy road, like high volume, it's not just buses who use the road, there are road users as well. Yeah, things could go wrong very, very quickly. And it's all because of like the sudden, unexpected change in the traffic lights, meaning that people wouldn't necessarily have enough time to react to it. Even if your traffic light, let's say red, amber, green, and then you kind of have like the countdown timer. Even when you have the countdown timer, if it goes from like, let's say 79 to 5 in an instant, it's still unsafe because, like the drivers won't even have enough time to react to it in the first place. And when you have a road that's like busy, obviously there are gonna be like a lot of cars, right? Let's say during peak hours, like all the cars are still lining up here, right? And then you suddenly just rig this traffic light from like, let's say 79 to 5 seconds. The cars here don't even have enough time to, cause like, you messed up the traffic. The traffic is there's still traffic here. And then by the time the vehicles keep piling up, your rapid bus wouldn't even have enough space to cross the junction in the first place. And then even if you put bus lanes, which are on like usually the left side of the road, right? There might be like left turning vehicles. And when you have like a pedestrian crossing over here, the cars over here, or even other buses, they have to wait for all the passengers to like cross the road before they can even turn left, right? Because, to put it simply, vehicles are allowed to use the bus lanes in order to turn left. I mean, that's self-explanatory, right? So if your bus happens to be trapped behind a whole line of vehicles waiting to turn left, it'll have the same effect. Like every single car over here or bus is like trying to turn left. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but when you rig the lights, these vehicles would basically block this bus from going in front. Like essentially, they have to like abruptly change lanes or something along those lines. And this doesn't help matters if like this rapid bus is already on the bus lane. Like let's say, okay, how should I put it? Okay, like there is a bus lane here, there's a bus lane here, and then there is a bus lane here. There are a lot of vehicles turning here. And then the rapid bus on this bus lane, it wants to use the bus lane, but now it has to cut to the other lane and then swerve back inside, if you get what I mean. And I hope you guys understand that it's not just road users that will be impacted by this. Even pedestrian crossings, pedestrians would be affected by this as well, because it's like when you rig the traffic lights and then from 79 it goes to 5 seconds, let's say, these people have to like, oh, hurry up to cross the road, that kind of thing, because they see the sudden change in like the traffic light timings. It's just not good, right? I don't even have to like explain further. So realistically speaking, this is only really applicable to roads whereby there are already bus lanes in the first place. I'm just saying bus lanes in the first place. And there is also an absence of, ideally there should not be any pedestrian crossings. There should be overhead bridges, there should be underpasses or stuff like that. But again, that opens another can of worms, which is basically jaywalking. Because said overhead bridges and underpasses, they are situated too far away from the road junction. I know in Japan, basically my home, there are junctions whereby they have like a huge bridge, like a circular bridge for pedestrians, or if not, they have like underpass here, underpass here, underpass here, underpass here. Like in Kashiwa City in Chiba, there are roads whereby it's like just an entire underground linkway underpass like system, and then there are no there are traffic lights, but there are no pedestrian crossings as well, because that junction is like there's a high volume of traffic, be it cars or buses, and that's why they prefer to have like this overpass or underpass. Like, you need the infrastructure for all of this. It's not just, oh, I want rapid buses, I can immediately implement it. No. This case study, it's not related to rapid buses, but it's just related to giving uh, traffic light priority to buses, like bus priority in general, not just the bus lanes, but basically Singapore has this thing whereby, okay, it's red, amber, green, right? And then they have a green B signal. So at some places they do have a B signal, either just after bus stops, there is a, like, let's say you have a bus stop over here, and then there is a pedestrian crossing. There would be this B signal in the sense that it would allow buses to pass first, provided that the buses are on the leftmost lane in the first place, and this only applies to the leftmost lane. And then other road users could use, like even private buses. B is for buses. I think it's for like public buses and private buses, as long as they are on the bus lane in the first place. Yes, private buses, including premium bus services, they are allowed to use the bus lanes. The condition is that they could only go if there is no vehicle in front of them that's like a, not a bus, basically like a motorcycle or a car. You get what I mean. Basically, if the bus happens to be first in line, whether it's a public bus or a private bus, and the B signal comes up, they get to go first. All right. So this B signal, this whole concept, it's actually very well thought out. But again, some people take it out of context. Okay, so this is regarding the normal trunk bus service 970, which historically it used to be Trans Island Bus Service 5, but then it got withdrawn, and since there were complaints, they reintroduced it in the form of 970. It's not exactly the same route, it has differences, but basically, yeah. So 970, there is this this place is, okay, Upper Cross Street, Havelock Road, Upper Pickering Street. So 970 turns like this. This is basically People's Park Center, and then this is Complex. So 970 stops at bus stop 10 and bus stop 8, which is here. It doesn't stop at bus stop 6. Again, you guys know this, I'm just explaining to people who don't understand. So the reason why it skips bus stop 6 is because it has to be on the right lane so that there is enough right turn there is enough filter for the bus to be able to right turn in the first place, right? So it calls bus stop 10 and bus stop 8. But hey, you know, some people, they suggest to have a B signal on an already crowded road in the first place, so that they could put like a big yellow box, so that 970 from bus stop 8, People's Park Complex. I mean, I think the bus stop right now has been renamed to like Chinatown Station or something along those lines. But so that 970 could filter at this large yellow box, so that it can turn right in the first place. Well, if you have been to Yu Tong Sen Street in the first place, you would know that it's usually a stagger, right? Bus stop 10, bus stop 6, bus stop 8, bus stop 4. Buses from bus stop 10, usually they would stop at bus stop 6, and vice versa for bus stop 8 and bus stop 4. So in the first place, there are already buses that are like, okay, how do you put it? It's like, there are already buses that filter like this to bus stop 2, which is Clarke Quay MRT station. And then you have another group of buses that are like this. So essentially, when you have this kind of like staggered bus stop, if I were to show this in the diagram, you already have buses that are like cutting out, cutting in. same thing for bus stop 10 to 6 and then to 2. Buses like cutting out, cutting in, cutting out again. You would have other buses, not even other road users, other non-bus vehicles. You have literal buses that are like weaving in and out because of the staggered bus stop. And because of that, like usually at this part of the road, it's already clogged up. So why would you guys even think about putting a B signal here in the first place? And not just that, it's like there are a lot of like vehicles. There's even service 143, the bus, that's like waiting to turn left. And then over here there is, if I'm not mistaken, there is a pedestrian crossing over here as well. You have all of these limitations and your solution is to just put the B signal there. It's like, what? What you guys should be focusing on is so that the issue is with 970 filtering right? So what you should be focusing on is adding more right turn lanes so that it's easier for 970 to turn right. And it also benefits 970 because 970 does have a bus stop at Upper Pickering Street, the one that currently has 186 and 970. In fact, there used to be City Shuttle Services 608 that called at this bus stop and filtered right all the way, and then it has to turn right to South Bridge Road. That is in the direction of Bedok. I just find that really insane. But what you guys should be focusing on is just don't overcomplicate things. Just more right turn lanes. Okay, this is Jurong Town Hall Road. There is 49 and 178 which filter from Jurong Town Hall Road to Jalan Ahmad Ibrahim westbound, basically AYE. So every other bus service, they would call the bus stop in front and the bus stop behind. There is 49 and 178. And guess what? There is an actual traffic light, by the way. In order for these two bus services, I think there's like a pressure plate thingy as well for these two buses to filter out. This is actual road infrastructure dedicated to buses. And not just that. In the context of Bukit Batok Road, southbound, and then over here, it used to be Jurong Road, but now it's what do you call that? It's PIE, right? There is 174 over here, and then every single other bus stops here. Yeah. And basically, there is a large, like, yellow box for this. It's not like Jurong Town Hall Road, whereby there is actually a physical barrier or anything. No. Bukit Batok Road, there is this large yellow box. And then an actual traffic light so that 174, the pressure plate, they actually have a chance to filter to the extreme right end of the road. I mean, you could also say this for like the Dhoby Ghat right-hand side bus stop, right? Whereby the buses, they have this one large yellow box. Okay, basically, if I were to show you Dhoby Ghat over here, it's like, there is a reason why 64 and 139, they don't call that bus stop because they have to turn left to Clemenceau Avenue. But other than that, every single other bus, they just make use of. There is a traffic like there's a, oh shit, sorry. There's a traffic light here. There's a pedestrian crossing. And then the traffic light isn't here, but the traffic light is like somewhere along here, I think. So that when this thing turns red, the buses have a, sorry, I think the traffic light is like here or something, not here. There's a chance for like buses to use this yellow box. Sometimes they filter all the way. Sometimes they just filter halfway and then they have to like cut in to the leftmost lane again, I think. Yeah, so something along those lines. But the point I'm trying to make is that you need infrastructure. Even though I explained the Orchard Road thing a little bit haphazardly, I am sorry. This video is completely unscripted. I'm just going off the top of my head. And yeah. The main point that I want to bring about is that it doesn't necessarily have to be like the B signal or like the transponder tag rigging or anything, pressure plate thingy. It's like you need infrastructure to be even able to accommodate these things in the first place. So it's not like you want to implement it and then they'll be implemented in the next 24 hours or no. But what I'm trying to say is that you need infrastructure, you need proper planning for all of these. This is exactly the reason why bus lanes on expressways do not work. Like, let's say you have like of 5 lanes or like 4 lanes, and you just cut off the leftmost lane for buses only, it wouldn't make sense. Simply because, I mean, other than like Jalan Anak Bukit, which used to be a right-hand exit, you can just say that like all the exits from the expressways in Singapore are all from the left-hand side. And usually there are very few roads that actually viaducts that like cut into the right-hand side of the road. Usually every every exit is left out. Every exit is also, oh my god, every exit is left out. Every entrance to the expressway is more or less left in as well. And even in the case of like Adam Road, PIE, it's also like this. It's also left in as well, if you can see from what I've drawn just now. So yeah, because of this, because of this, it's like, okay, let's say this is the road, the viaduct over here, or even the underpass. It's like you have all the buses that are traveling like this, and then you have other vehicles that are trying to exit. You have to cut into the bus lane. And not just that, the vehicles like that are entering from the normal road to the expressway, they have to like cut into the bus lane as well. So this alone, it makes no sense to put bus lanes on the expressway at all. You cannot just like, oh, I want bus priority at all costs. Let's fuck every single other road user, right? Let's just paint an extended yellow line so that, oh, this becomes a bus lane. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, pardon me if I've drawn this wrong. There is AYE, whereby there are these like bus-only slip roads, meaning private buses or public buses are able to use these slip roads. Like there is a bus stop here. This option is way more preferable because you can clearly see that these roads are bus only, right? But to even justify this in the first place, you need the infrastructure. You need proper planning beforehand before this thing even materializes in the first place. And you need space. Singapore is like, sometimes some places are just, they just have space constraints and it's hard to like expand horizontally. So again, this kind of infrastructure needs proper planning, and you need to guarantee that there would be a lot of buses, that preferably more than like 5 buses or 8 buses. I don't know what the requirement is for the expressway to even have these like dedicated bus lanes or bus. I wouldn't even call this a bus lane. I would just call this like a bus slip roads. It's like you need enough buses that are on the expressway to make these slip roads even worth it. And when I'm saying slip road, I don't necessarily mean, oh, only buses that are calling this stop can use the slip road. No, off-service buses that are going back to the depot or dead hitting somewhere else to start trip or end trip, whatever the case is, or even private buses. And not just that, even city direct bus services as well, which don't really call any AYE stop. Even express bus services like 502 as well, that don't call any stop. They have a choice to either use outside or go inside the bus slip road. Basically, if there's like a large pile up of like traffic here, they could just use the bus slip roads to like skip ahead of traffic, and that is perfectly fine because the other road users know, oh, this is a bus slip road and we need to give way to them. They are aware of this. This is why if you want so-called quote-unquote bus lanes in the form of bus slip road, you need the infrastructure and you need to guarantee that there are enough buses on the expressway to even for this to be even considered in the first place. Talk is easy. You need the resources to even be able to implement all of these in the first place. I know that there is like a whole video by some other YouTuber talking about expressway bus lanes, but I feel that it's like quite haphazard and like a knee-jerk reaction. Like they clearly didn't think this through when they made such videos, you know. I am a bus enthusiast. I prefer taking bus over taking a train because I don't want to squeeze on board a crowded train. That's why in Japan, sometimes I really wish that there were more like longer distance bus services. But again, Japan's roads, they are usually narrow except like the national routes, the expressways. Even their expressways are like kind of they don't have that many lanes in the first. It's usually the national routes that have like the most lanes, because the expressways, they are viaducts, and they're more expensive to build. But usually the national roads, the long distance roads like Route 6, for example, that starts from Tokyo and it ends at like, is it Sendai, or like way north above Sendai? I cannot remember the exact place where National Route 6 ends, but basically these national routes, they are the ones that have the big roads, like the 4 lane, the 5 lane per direction roads. And I wish that they would run more buses along those roads. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I prefer taking bus over train. But even as a bus enthusiast myself, I have to admit that there are differences between what a bus does and what an MRT does. Yes, there are exceptions, but let me just say this in a more generalized thing. Okay, so MRT, major stop, major stop, major stop, major stop, major stop, that kind of thing. Like, I would just say every single station is considered like a major stop. It doesn't necessarily have to be an interchange station with another line or what, but okay, let's just say this one is an interchange. And then for buses, yes, there are some MRT parallel bus services which are important, by the way. The difference between bus and MRT is that buses, they do have these intermediate stops between these major stops. Like basically, if I just draw them out, and then I'll use a different color, I promise. Okay, major stop, major stop, major stop, major stop, major stop. But again, this is only for bus routes that parallel the MRT, like 267, you know, that kind of thing. And basically I'm going to use a different color, and then okay, this is east-west line. Okay, there is one thing that's called hub spoking between the bus and MRT. Yes, there is this thing. And feeder services, they tend to do this, or even in the case of 2 or 67, they tend to do this. So it means that like the passengers are either going to or coming from the intermediate stops, and they want to access the MRT. So like, let's say you're from here, you could access here, or you can access here depending on which direction you're going to, right? That's one thing. That's the hub spoke aspect of like these MRT parallel bus services. But the reason why people even take buses over the MRT in the first place, and a lot of people misunderstand this, is that buses, the reason why a lot of people prefer taking bus over MRT, especially even if it's a longer journey, but it's more convenient for them, they take the bus. And the reason is because, and I'll just put it simply in one word: doorstep. 2 words, okay, fine. Doorstep connections. Doorstep connectivity. If you realize from this diagram alone, I could keep stretching this diagram not infinitely, but you get the idea. It has a terminating point. It's just I'm just using infinite to illustrate the concept. I've talked about this before, but basically, I mean, this video is more educational, right? So that's why I have to like talk about all these like minor details and stuff like that. So basically, from an intermediate stop, doesn't matter which one, they are able to take the bus to another intermediate stop and completely skip the MRT. This is what Service 2, Service 67, and all the other MRT parallels, they offer. Maybe even this as well. I don't know, but you get the idea. Maybe this one from like, you know, HPV to like Cantonment Station, I guess you could say that. Because Service 30 is basically meant to be a circle line redundancy bus service. It's not going to get rationalized in any way, but basically, you know, this is all about network resilience. When the MRT poofs, break down, you take the bus. You have all these bus services that you could still take. You could still get to places, even though it's like a little bit slower when the MRT is down, okay? But this is for the bus services that are even parallel to the MRT in the first place. Okay, so the intermediate stops, basically, doesn't matter if it's like short distance or, if I exaggerate it, long distance. So essentially, you are able to take a bus from, let's say, Bugis area, but doesn't necessarily have to be near Bugis MRT. It could be like Good Shepherd's Cathedral, which is not near any MRT. You would have to walk to City Hall, right? So if you are at that bus stop, you would rather take service 2 to somewhere along, let's say, Upper Changi Road, Tanah Merah, Bedok, Eunos, Paya Lebar, Kembangan, whatever the case is. And not just that, Sims Avenue and Changi Road, they have access penalty, right? Like the MRT is only along one side of the road and not in the middle, right? It's not like Commonwealth Avenue West, whereby the MRT is like in the middle, right? So this is the reason why Service 2, Service 67, and even Service 30, they have to remain local, because the intermediate stops, they are what even gives these buses the demand in the first place, because they allow people to completely skip taking MRT. It is convenient, it is doorstep for them, and it doesn't matter if it's like short distance or long distance, as long as they are their destinations are nearby these intermediate stops, they would take the bus. I could even say 851, but technically 851 is its own corridor and it's not really an MRT parallel, so that's kind of a different story, I guess. Because I'm not against like the concept of rapid buses. I'm not against newly introduced rapid routes that are like rapid right from the start. I'm not against that. What I'm against is people trying to convert existing local bus services, which are meant to serve local connections in the first place, to rapid buses. Like, what the? You're completely misunderstanding why people even take buses in the first place. It's not because it's fast. It's all because of the doorstep connectivity. Now I'm done with this section. I'm just going to like... Okay, the next section is basically gonna be like local bus, express bus, and whatever the hell their stupid concept is. Okay, so basically, local buses, right? Right now, I'm not gonna draw circles anymore. I'm just going to draw vertical lines. All stop, 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 all stop. Service 30. Okay. Pew. This is the entire bus line. Then let's say you have 502. All stop, all stop, all stop, all stop, all stop, all stop. Express sector. All stop, all stop, all stop, all stop, all stop, all stop, all stop. Meaning Orchard to Shenton Way. Express sector. All stop, all stop, all stop, all stop, da, 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 da. Basically, it kind of like returns back to it. You get the idea, but I'm just trying to convert everything into like a horizontal line. Then you have a rapid. The only true rapid right now in Singapore, as of this point in time, it's Service 30E. If you look at, go to Land Transport Guru or wherever, just dig up Service 30 route, you would realize that it's usually like this, maybe like this. The stops are like, it's more like rapid buses. The problem with rapid buses, as you can see, you see an MRT is like this, right? And then you see the rapid bus is also like this, right? Service 30E after CCL6, I would say this is like pretty much susceptible to rationalization. Service 30 is not going to be touched because it calls all the intermediate stops. 30 doesn't, 30E doesn't. 30E calls more of the like major stop, major stop, major stop, major stop, major stop, like basically NUS near Kent Ridge, right? I would just generalize this as NUS, and then I would say this is like Alexandra area, not Alexandra Road, but Alexandra area, like near Pasir Panjang or Labrador Park. And then this is like Harbourfront, and then this is like Dakota. And then over here, it's like the East-West Line sector, and it doesn't necessarily call every single East-West Line stop, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, my point is that there is only one true rapid bus service, even though it's fast forward, right? And then it got rebranded to Express. I don't care. I'm still gonna call it fast forward anyway. But basically, only one bus currently fits this route profile. But why do people not take 30E in the first place? I mean, there is demand, but why is it so little? It only operates during peak hours, by the way, in case you didn't know. It's not like 12E, 43E, 960E, or any of these sort. I mean, even those, they have limited operation hours, but basically 30 only operates westbound morning peak, eastbound evening peak. The reason why, okay, number one, it is, okay, the reason why people don't really take service 30E is because express fare deterrence. But even if you took away the express fare deterrence in the first place, there is another reason why not many people take 30E. Simply because 30E has less stops than 30, which means all the intermediate stop catchment, they wouldn't even be able to take 30E because it skips their stops. It's simple. People want to go to the intermediate stops, but 30E doesn't go there. They're not gonna take it. They're only gonna take 30E if it's doorstep. Like if their destination happens to be near the major stops, basically the stops that 30E even calls at in the first place, then they would take 30E. They're only going to take 30E if it's near the bus stops that it even calls in the first place, not the bus stops that it skips. By the way, for the skipped bus stops, they would take 30 instead. You know, I know Singapore's transport system has its flaws, like especially regarding like the TRF system, how you're not able to like connect from one specific bus to another specific bus. It's only under several conditions whereby you could TRF. I mean, the locals are already used to it, but basically, it's not so simple as like, oh, you could just TRF however you wish, that kind of thing. So because of this, do you guys realize that 502, 518, the reason why they are even successful in the first place is because all the local sectors, and even within like the Orchard, Suntec, Bayfront sector, why they're even successful in the first place is because they are all stopped. Yes, they might be staggered bus stops, which makes them go faster as opposed to like really calling all stops. People in the past have already been used to Orchard Road being staggered bus stops. So historically, Tanks Plaza, Lucky Plaza, opposite Meritus Mandarin Hotel, opposite 313 Somerset, Orchard Central. Okay, this one only 123 and 143, and some of the old premium bus service calls it. And then bus stop 2, bus stop 4, bus stop 6. Sorry, 642. 2, it's only called by it's only served by 64, 65, 139. And basically, remember, it's a major stop. Concord Hotel, Dhoby Ghaut MRT station, it's a major stop. That's why all buses call it. But bus stop 16 and bus stop 12, they are staggered. Bus stop 14 and bus stop 10, they are staggered. 518 does the 16 and 12, and this is where 518 gets the most demand. A lot of people like, a lot of people bored. I mean, depending on the time of the day, right? And then bus stop 14, bus stop 10, 502 calls it. See, the segregation of the staggered bus stops in this context is actually really smart. In the past, it was only bus stop 16 and 14 that got staggered, and then 12 and 10 are originally they weren't staggered, but over time they decided to stagger it in this manner. So it's like buses coming from Scots Road turn left, they do bus stop 16 and 12. Buses coming from Patterson Road, they go bus stop 14 and 10. And then buses going straight, it is an even split. So bus stop 16, it is served, and 12, it is served by 36, 77, as in like, I'm sorry, there are strong winds right now. Basically, I think even the wind agrees with me. Even the wind travels faster than buses in Singapore, I gotta admit. All the OTA and stuff like that. But okay, some buses, they really have no choice but to go OTA for various different reasons. Okay, but anyways, back to topic. 36, 77, and 174, they call at the Tanks Plaza stagger. And the Lucky Plaza stagger, 7, 106, 111, 123, and 502, they are the Lucky Plaza stagger. This is for buses that are going straight, and there is an even split. Okay, not really even split in the sense that it's like 3:5, the ratio. It's not 4:4, but you get the idea. It's kind of like they split the buses, that kind of thing. Again, this stagger works. But even with this stagger, I would still consider this like an all stop, because people all the way from like the late 1990s, they have already been used to this arrangement. See, people need time to get used to things like this. So, but the main point is basically, you see, the reason why 502 and 518 even succeed in the first place is because it's doorstep to Lucky Plaza. People don't mind boarding 518 at bus stop 16 as opposed to bus stop 14. And then bus stop 12 is also another, like I told you, 518 gains a lot of demand from bus stops 16 and 12. So because there is local catchment here, because there is local catchment within the neighborhood sectors, and then there's just one long express sector. Basically what I'm trying to say, it's, okay, D is for doorstep. Doorstep here, they want to go to Lucky Plaza. You would notice that a lot of Filipinos, during the weekends, they take 502 and 518 because that's exactly where they're going to. They're going to shop at Lucky Plaza or similar places. It's doorstep here, it's doorstep here, it's doorstep here. For local bus services, it's doorstep all the way, by the way, all the way. Major stop, minor stop, MRT station, no MRT station. It's doorstep. Doorstep is the reason why people take bus services. It's not because it's fast, it's doorstep. Rapid buses, you have doorstep, 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 but at the same time, you have no doorstep, no doorstep. I'm not counting MCE and ECP because there aren't, shit, sorry. I'm not counting AYE and MCE in the first place. I'm sorry, I'm kind of old. I'm not that old. I was born 1999, so I mean, I used to remember 30 as ECP. So AYE and MC, I don't count that because there are no bus stops in the first place, just like how there are no bus stops in the first place. I mean, you could count AYE, but like 502 historically used PIE both bounds and also Ulupana Road both bounds and not AYE. Now it uses AYE one bound, but 506 was never meant to call the AYE stops in the first place. So let's just take it as no stop. So I don't even have to put this thing over it. It's not applicable to 502 and 518 in this case. But basically, Service 30E, there is no doorstep at the intermediate stops. That's the reason why Service 30E even gets less demand in the first place. I mean, when you compare it to something like 963E, yes, 963E skips stops, but the thing is, there is still some form of doorstep for 963E in the first place. That's why people, even though there's express fare, it's kind of a scam anyway, people still take it. I mean, bottom line is that if there is no doorstep, people would be less likely inclined to take the bus service in the first place. Messy diagram, that's just usually how I am with my unscripted videos, and I'm too lazy to edit my videos, so I just want to do everything raw. So hopefully you guys can see why. I could even extend this to CDS, because CDS, CDS and basically the non-CDS express services, they are like CDS, but they are not branded as CDS. It's like 513, 850, even 868, even though that doesn't run PMP. And then there's like what, 951, 982E. They are effectively CDSs, so we'll just lump them all into this category. Like basically, this, I know they're going to be renumbered to this series quite soon, but let's just say these. Okay, I'm gonna have to put an E for this one because there is a historical 951 that is now 180 second generation. But basically, CDS and the 6XX services, currently they're gonna have more. Basically, they're gonna have more like city shopper style CDS services that are like 14E. They go to Orchard instead of like the CBD. But okay, there's one from Pongo North. There's probably going to be one at Serangoon North and one at Fernvale, Tangam as well. But basically, yeah, it's a revival of City Shopper. And I hope they operate on weekends as well. But whatever, it's just weekday for now. But you get the idea. I could extend this to CDS as well. Within the city, doorstep, 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 doorstep. Maybe a little bit of like staggered bus stop, like basically bus stop 3 and bus stop 5 Shenton Way. Because bus stop 1, every single bus calls at it. And then they get staggered between bus stop 3 and bus stop 5. Depending on when they were introduced. So within the CDS, it's like this: one long express sector, doorstep, 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 And even all the premium bus services, let's say this one, let's say this one, let's say this one, and just giving examples. Okay, maybe, I don't know. You get the idea. So, doorstep within the city, doorstep within the residential sectors. It's not just these CDs. I could even say the same for like the Changi Business Park ones. Like there is this, there is this, there's this one. What is the other one? Oh my god, I forgot. There's there's another one. Okay, basically there is one to Punggol, there is one to Sengkang, one to Sembawang, and then one to Ang Mo Kio Avenue 3 and Hougang. You get the idea. One long express sector with no stops. Doorstep, 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 doorstep. You get the idea. This is why they even succeed. Whether it's the cost of MRT or otherwise, rapid bus services are way more susceptible to rationalization simply because of their limited stop nature. Even MRT in general is limited stop. Okay, and the whole thing is that yes, in most cases, MRT is faster than bus, but there are exceptions, okay? Like all of these. Sometimes, depending on where you're going, doorstep, they might even beat North Coast Line or whatever you call it. They might even beat the MRT options. But why do they succeed? Okay, let's not count this one because they are kind of extreme examples. They are still kind of doorstep within Woodlands Avenue 2 as well, but it's like, remember at like Hougang, Sengkang, this one is doorstep. At Bedok Tampines, this one is doorstep. 858, Changi Airport, TP bus stop, Jalan Kayu, and then the entire sector between Woodlands and okay, by the way, 858 used to be just Woodlands to Yishun via Yishun Avenue 3. They changed it to Avenue 5 and extended it to Changi Airport. But same logic. Reason why people take 858 in the first place from the airport is doorstep, 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 doorstep. People from Changi Airport, they have a doorstep access. And even within the residential sectors, 858 operates as a feeder. That is why 858 needs bendy buses. Even if it's double-decker bus friendly, it still needs bendy buses. Do not put a double-decker on 858. Even if 858 was double-decker friendly, you have to use bendy buses because 858 operates like a feeder. It's a trunk, but it operates like a feeder within, in between Woodlands and Khatib. End of story. I don't want to hear people arguing about this anymore. 965, the same thing. It's kind of direct to Sengkang, right? But within Woodlands and Khatib, same logic, the doorstep logic. 969 as well. It used to be express all the way to Tampines, right? But then nowadays, and then TP bus stop. But nowadays, there's a bit more doorstep stops along here. And then from Khatib to Woodlands, again, it's the same doorstep logic. Okay, fine. I'll just say every single, I'll just extend this to every single airport service. 27, 50, 30, 34, 36, 53. What else did I miss out? 110, 24. Okay, 24. It's express from EC. No. Airport Boulevard, PIE. Every other single stop is doorstep, which means 24 functions as a Circle Line and East-West Line redundancy service, kind of. There are many of them, but 24 is just one of them. But I don't even want to use, I don't even want people to misuse the definition of like redundancy bus service. There are conditions for it. It has to duplicate MRT, but not fully. That's why 167 is not the redundancy service. It's actually 980. This is the official redundancy service. Similarly for Cross Island Line and 74, Circle Line and Service 30 and not 10, because 30 does skip a bit of stops along the express sector. 110, same thing. Changi Airport, TP bus stop, doorstep, 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 doorstep. Okay, what's next? Crap, sorry. 53. 53 is super important because it's like CGA, express, doorstep at Pasir Ris Drive 1. Not every single Pasir Ris Drive 1 bus stop has access to CRL and Elias Station is way too far from Pasir Ris Drive 1, so if you're not coming from Pasir Ris East, you're coming from Pasir Ris West, you would still take 53 to Changi Airport anyway. That's why 53 will still stay even after CRL. And then it has an express sector again, TP, KP, Tampines Road to Bishan, doorstep. 36 is the same thing. It's a loop service, but basically express, doorstep and Marine Parade, express, doorstep at Suntec and Orchard. 36 basically brings you doorstep to your hotel as opposed to taking MRT, which is kind of limited stop. 36 brings you to your hotel doorstep. Look at the route, study the route, look at how many hotels are being served by 36 doorstep. 34 is the same thing. To Express, Tampines, doorstep. To Pongo, again, same thing, goes for the doorstep within North Shore. 27, the same thing. To Tampines Avenue 5, Express to Tampines Avenue 5, doorstep, and then TP bus stop. You get my point. This is where the demand comes from. 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 You run a bus service like this, rapid, you're not going to get any demand. That's why 30E has never had a double-decker bus appearance, ever, in the history of 30E. I don't mind. You know Hong Kong has like City Flyer, right? I think even Long Wind Bus, LWB, which is like a subsidiary of KMB, they also have similar midnight buses. Is it midnight buses? But yeah. Anyway, I am not against the concept of newly crayoned, like newly introduced rapid bus services like Airport Express to the airport. I'm not against that. But I don't want people to go around converting this shit to rapid, 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 converting this shit to rapid. No! You will lose demand. You want rapid, introduce a new bus service. Do not convert existing bus services to rapid. Another issue is your last bus timings. 851, the last bus from Yishun all the way to Bukit Merah, and by the way, 851 reaches Bukit Merah quite late. It's at 11:40 p.m. and then it'll just actually, okay, I should be more accurate. It kind of throws like this. Okay, sorry about that. Because 851 throws along this sector, you have a lot of leeway. Let's say you're going northbound instead. You have a lot of leeway because 851 even throws and it's not like straight via like what? Scotts Road, Newton Road. 851 doesn't go there. So you have a lot of leeway before 851 even reaches Novena in the first place. After MRT has ended service, you still have buses that are able to take you long distance. Look at when the last bus of Service 30, 51, and Service 80 ends. Service 80's last bus, I'm gonna show you Service 80. Harbourfront, right? The last bus departs at 12:25 a.m. I think every single day. So by the time it reaches, okay, it throws through Tanjong Pagar, right? By the time it reaches Chinatown, Clarke Quay, it'll be late, like close to 1 a.m. Okay, not really close to 1 a.m. The 1 a.m. thing should be more of Bugis. They stretch time. And then Geylang as well. You have a lot of time before this thing even reaches Kovan. And by the time it reaches Sengkang, it'll be around, I don't know, like nearly 2 a.m. This is why all the last buses have to be local. You cannot just like, I'm gonna introduce 851 Rapid and every single other local counterpart, like 54, like the stupid 130M that I introduced, I'm gonna extend your last buses. I am for BC welfare, but I don't actually give a fuck about BC welfare in the first place. With one bus captain. Okay, two bus captains in the case of bidirectional services. You're able to stretch time and able to ensure that everybody reaches home safe and sound to their doorsteps because it's local. You cannot just like run 851 Rapid and then suddenly you say, oh, for the last bus, I'm not going to run Rapid, I'm going to run all stop. No. See, here's the thing. It's just like Japan. Like your rapid trains have to connect to your local trains because that's how HubSpot works. From so-called higher order to like lower order, that kind of thing. This means if you were to run this rapid, all your local buses, the poor local buses, they have to extend their last bus timings just to intercept with this goddamn 851 rapid. Coming from a group that constantly preaches about bus captain welfare, yet sandbags the BCs for their own selfish desires, I don't know what to say. And these people, like, they have a bad habit of just taking something nearby and just say, oh, this will be the local counterpart. I never planned it or anything. I'm just going to convert this thing to rapid haphazardly and, okay, deal with it. This is your local counterpart now. By the way, 54 from Bishan ends quite early. And thank goodness for that, because I really don't want 54 to like operate all the way to like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You're just wasting your money, okay? Just take away this thing. Local. Nah, this shouldn't even exist. By the way, that's not a real service. That's their stupid plans. Like, let's have 54. Let's have 851. Let's have 80 local. Let's have service 2 local. End of story. Let's have service 30 local. So that service 30, people going eastbound from Boon Lay to Badok, they even have ample time. It stretches time. Sometimes the last buses, they would like be very slow within the first few bus stops and then they gradually become faster. That's how OTA is supposed to work, to allow people to have ample time to board the buses, to wait for the bus and reach home, so that it's not really like a tight race or scramble to catch the last bus or anything, right? So there's a reason why the last buses, they tend to be super slow within their first few stops. Like service 80, it departs Sengkang. The Harbourfront bound, the last bus isn't 0025, but it's 1130, like 11:30 p.m. Then by the time it reaches Kovan, it actually goes super slow. It is near like 12 midnight. This is the reason why the last buses are OTA. Because it's the last bus, people cannot afford to miss that bus, right? And because of this, they have a tendency to add more time than needed to stretch time within the first few sectors along the route. In the case of service 30, it's the same as well. Stretch time and then go a bit quickly. Because they're local, you just need one bus captain to drive the last bus in one direction and one bus captain to drive the last bus in the other direction. Or even if you have an arrangement whereby the bus driver is doing PM shift, last bus from Badok to Boon Lay, last bus from Boon Lay to Badok, and then the bus captain ends shift, that kind of thing, for long bus services. And 51 as well. 51's last bus actually ends very, very late. Because, it departs like Jurong East not that late, but because it winds, it's local and everything, by the time it reaches Clarke Quay, 51 is going... I think 51 actually ends later than service 80. So if your house happens to be at like near Paya Lebar, Geylang Serai, Eunos, Jalan Eunos, Jalan Eunos Link, Hougang Avenue 3, or even Hougang Central, like let's say you live at blocks 83 something, near Hougang Central. I love the Gold Star lifts there, by the way. It's quite a shame that they're replacing them now. But basically, if you live nearby 51, doorstep, late night bus, doorstep. You don't even have to run the night bus services anymore. You have to... See, this is the magic of Singapore's trunk buses that Japan doesn't have. For Japan is more or less trains because... But yeah. In Japan, you scramble to catch the last train and then you still have to walk home, which is damn stupid. Because Japan's feeder buses, they are not that good, by the way, in terms of frequency, because it's like lower density as compared to Singapore in most cases. And the only one bus service that runs Bendy Bus full day up till like 11 p.m. is like Makuhari's 01, which, you know the Keisei Bendy buses, right? Yeah, if you live nearby, you're considered lucky, because if your house has buses beyond 11 p.m., you are lucky in Japan. But in Singapore, you have this kind of luxury. So I don't know why people who don't understand the bus system fully are saying rapid this, rapid that, rapid this, rapid that, rapid this, rapid that. You need to learn about Singapore's bus network, what the route is designed and intended, its intentions, what it's intended for, what it's designed for in the first place, and how the route changed over time before you try to amend bus services. Bottom line is, last buses stretch time. Save resources as well. You don't need to run the night riders and night owls if your last buses are super good, like all local, all stop. And this is why, because the need for doorstep, the consideration of the last buses don't run rapids in Singapore. They never work. And they are more susceptible to be rationalized away by MRT or other bus services as well. But again, there are all these bus services that completely beat the MRT. And let me tell you one thing. 190 beats MRT. Beats Downtown Line, Thomson East Coast Line, or Downtown Line, North-South Line to Orchard, Somerset, Dhoby Ghaut. 190 beats them when PIE isn't like congested or anything. Reason why 190 succeeds, okay, there is like this express sector, even though 190 isn't an express bus service, and then there's this, it's doorstep within, from Chinatown to Orchard, from Chinatown to Orchard, it's doorstep. At Stevens, it's doorstep as well. That's why 190 is local at Stevens. People take 190 from Orchard to Stevens. Because back then, there was no 972. Depending on which comes first, they might just board 190. And 972M goes to Bukit Timah Road. It doesn't go to Stevens. So Stevens only has, not every single... Stevens Road, it literally... Only at the Bukit Timah Junction does it have TL in the first place, or even DTL NSL. But DTL NSL, the Newton transfer is stupid. Only the top of Stevens Road has TL. The other parts of Stevens Road that has no MRT access at all, they need to take 190 or 972 to even get out of Stevens, eastbound. They need these bus services. That's why 190 is local. That's why 972 is local. Then Stevens, Whitley, right? Long Express sector, 190 from block 223270 Bukit Panjang to Choa Chu Kang, doorstep local, doorstep local, doorstep local. 972 is the same thing, and even M as well. I would just put it like this: doorstep, 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 doorstep. 972 and M, which is like around like this. Sorry, there's like Senja. There's Senja Road as well. Okay. Doorstep, 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 doorstep. That's the reason why 190, it calls all stops within Choa Chu Kang and Bukit Panjang. It succeeds. It doesn't skip any stop. When you skip stops, they will complain. And you end up having to make the bus service more local anyway. So why not just make the bus service local in the first place? You can have an express sector. And this is the reason why this kind of route profile for buses usually doesn't work. That's why this kind of like for express bus services or even trunk services that use the expressway, this is more preferable. And this is why local buses are more preferable because of last bus considerations. So don't come at me and say I don't understand your concepts. Just because you have bus lanes and you make the bus go faster, that's not going to make the bus magically use less resources. If you cut away like half of the existing trunk bus routes and convert everything to rapid or feeder integrate, whatever nonsense, you would need to use more resources because you're just transferring the problem to another service. Okay, like, because you shafted so many of their connections for your own selfish agendas, now they're gonna have to, everybody's gonna have to squeeze on board like that, those new services, and you end up having to use the same or even more resources because you have a rapid variant, you have a local variant, you have a local M variant, or whatever bullshit you have. You get my point, right? If something is not broken, don't touch it. People take buses sometimes because it's doorstep, and it's also to avoid taking MRT or avoid making unnecessarily bad transfers along the MRT. Like 36 beats NSL and TEL. You know the Marina Bay access penalty is bullshit. It's like even walking through Circle Line is better than using the actual transfer linkway between North-South Line and Thomson East Coast Line. That is the sole reason and the only reason why 36 will never be rationalized, and also because 36 serves Suntec. No other bus is or MRT is the fastest between Marine Parade, Suntec, and Orchard. This is the reason why 36 survives even in the future, even when Thomson East Coast Line goes to Changi Airport. They will still take 36 because Marine Parade, Suntec, Orchard. It's simple. Bus is geographically and sometimes even not even geographically. It's just the bus route itself is faster than MRT, and the amount of transfers that you have to make if you take the MRT. Bus will always be the preferred option between Marine Parade, Suntec, Bras Basah, Dhoby Ghaut, Somerset, Orchard, and Orchard Boulevard, like that general area. It will still remain, I mean, unless you're telling me that the MRT brings you to your hotel doorstep, but in most cases, 36 would be way more preferred. Because I don't want the MRT extreme, the railway is better than bus, the train is better than bus, those extremists to come at me saying, you know, one is great, separated, and automatic, and buses, they need manpower to drive them, and not just that, buses are using roads, and roads are inferior to railway and great separation and guided paths. Don't listen to these people's bullshit, okay? Railway can never ever be doorstep, unlike buses. And that's just the way it is. Even LRT, it's a confined route. LRT doesn't necessarily serve the areas that buses are able to go in deeper into like the estates, whereas LRT, you need tracks, you need space to build the tracks. That's why even with BP LRT, with Sengkang Bukit Panjang LRT, with Sengkang LRT, with Punggol LRT, you still need buses to go into the areas that the LRT doesn't serve. The LRT is meant to serve the highest demand corridors, and there's nothing wrong with it. But you still need the buses to go inside those areas that are not accessible by rail at all. This is why a lot of people misunderstand what buses and trains are supposed to do, okay? That's why Service Tree exists. It brings people from TP bus stop, which has no MRT at all, to Cove Meridian Coral Edge. Basically the entire Punggol East and Punggol Field. Not the entire, but you get the idea. Buses will still have a role no matter how much MRT you have. It's dependent on context. Some routes, buses are better. Some routes, MRT is better. It's just the way it is, okay? So don't go to the residents and tell them, this is how you must commute. This is how you should commute. Let them decide. This is how you make bus routes or train routes in general. Again, for the visually impaired, I'm going to read it out. This is a new topic. Feeder bus integration is only applicable in some contexts. It should never be a countrywide consolidation, like consolidation of bus routes. Feeder buses, unlike trunk buses, I know that there are bus services that are trunks, but they kind of act like feeders, right? Don't give them a new term for it. Just call them trunk services that have feeder character. Like they just act like feeders. But basically, using Tampines and Simei as an example, these bus services are meant to be confined within the Tampines planning. Okay, I know it's cut off at Tampines North, but you kind of get the idea, right? Feeder bus services, or even bus services like 859 and 962, 859 and 962, they are not feeders because they cross planning zone boundaries, and they are more of like, they're not intra-town, but they are inter-town bus services. Even the upcoming Punggol North to Tampines North bus service, I would call it inter-town as well, because they serve like 2 or sometimes 3 towns, but basically, yeah. But feeders, whether they are feeder or town link or intra-town, By the way, the whole dual loop feeder thing is not something that was used. Like the whole dual loop feeder term is not something that is used in the past. We just called them town link and intra-town, and the dual loops is more or less like understood. We do not call them dual loop feeders. We just use town link or intra-town. We just use whatever their branding was, basically. Because seriously, like when you guys say dual loop, I sometimes get a little like, what exactly are you referring to? You mean town link or intra-town, or do you mean like 265, that kind of thing? So please use town link or intra-town to avoid confusion, because I am sorry, I am a dinosaur. I am not used to the new terms for it. But anyways, these bus services, 1, 2, 3, feeder, town link, intra-town, they are meant to stay within the town for one very simple reason. They are not going to be affected by external, meaning outside traffic. This is very important because no matter how much external traffic you have at, like, let's say the CBD, Marina Bay, Bayfront, Marina Center, Shenton Way, Orchard, Bugis, Chinatown, Little India, Bukit Timah Road, Newton, they will never ever be affected by the traffic from outside. Their purpose, it's only to stay within the boundaries of a certain town. Like, I know my boundaries aren't necessarily correct, but like I'm just trying to say that this is what a feeder bus service is supposed to do. Okay? This is why you should never use a CDS or a long trunk bus service to eat up a feeder service. You are going to be transferring the problem from the city center, the congestion and the delays and the unreliability of the service. You're going to be transferring these problems to the estate. Imagine what's supposed to be a feeder bus now comes at 20-minute, 25, 30-minute intervals because they got stuck within the city. Let's say there is a massive congestion. All your buses are going to be stuck within the CBD. Not just congestion. Accidents can happen. People can drive like donkeys sometimes. They cause accidents. The bus routes get either diverted or just completely stalled at the junction. Let's say the traffic accident happens to happen at the junction and no vehicles could pass. This is why the feeder services are meant to stay within the town. It's catered towards people who are traveling short distance within the town only. So from now on, I don't want to see people using CDS or long distance trunk services that go near the city or something, or even just long distance trunk services in general, to eat up the feeder services. Is it fair for the people who only wish to be commuting within Tampines or Simei, because Simei is technically under Tampines planning zone, and even this small part of like Bedok Reservoir Road as well? I mean, that's the reason why 290 was a feeder service before getting integrated into 38. I mean, is it fair for these people who want to commute within Tampines and Simei to be affected by whatever the hell happens outside of Tampines and Simei? No, right? I've already talked in the previous sections, I've already talked about just because you have bus lanes, bus priority, the rigging, transpondent tax, or whatever that thing is, even when you have them, this doesn't necessarily mean that like it'll improve the bus reliability, because like there at certain stops there will be a lot of people boarding and alighting at the bus stop, at the major stops, especially like at Bugis Junction, for example. Opposite Parkhill Bugis Junction, yeah, at that bus stop, or even Northbridge Road. Basically, these bus stops are going to completely slow down the bus service, and it is unfair to bring the effects of said unreliability and a lot of passengers boarding and alighting to the bus services that are meant to stay within a particular town. Even if you use bendy buses, I'm just telling you, it's not going to help. The bendy buses will be the most efficient if they are confined to within the residential areas. There are some exceptions like 154 or 858 that they should use bendy buses over double deckers. But like, I mean, in general, yeah. For the bus services that are long distance and they go into the city center, they're all local stop and stuff like this, they should not really be using bendy buses in the first place. The bendy buses are meant for people who board and disembark quickly. See, here's the thing, like, even for long distance bus services, only in some cases whereby using bendy buses is actually much better. It's just very, like, I don't know how to say. Because the bus in itself, in this context, is a long distance bus service, right? It'll still take time to reach from point A to point B. No matter how many bus lanes, how much bus lanes, how much bus priority you give, no matter how much traffic light rigging that there's going on, the matter of the fact is that it is still a long distance bus service, and I'm pretty sure people don't really want to stand. They would prefer to have a seat on board a double decker bus because double decker buses have more seats than bendy buses on average. I know there are some exceptions, but like, they would prefer to sit than to stand. So bendy buses might not necessarily be the best application. Again, 154, because it serves a lot of schools. And by schools, I mean like there's Lakeside MRT, there is Taman Jurong, there is Clementi MRT, which would definitely benefit from having the bendy buses. There is like the whole university estate and Neon Polytechnic as well at Clementi Road. There are lots of schools at Danyang Road and Bukit Timah Road as well. That's why 154 bendy buses are more preferred. And for 858, even within the even along the expressway, there's TP bus stop, there's Jalan Kayu as well. This means that this means that bendy buses are way more preferred because there are just way too many boarding and alighting points to even consider the use of double deckers in the first place. You actually need the bendy buses, otherwise the service is going to take like 9 hours to reach Woodlands from Changi Airport if you use double deckers. And in case you guys didn't understand, that was sarcasm. But 858 seriously benefits from bendy buses because the residential sector acts like a feeder, and TP bus stop Jalan Kayu, there's like a whole lot of like boarding and alighting action going on. That's why bendy buses are preferred. But again, in general, the bendy buses should be confined to within the town or different town or a service that serves different towns, or even school buses or bus services with a lot of like elderly population. Yeah, they should only be confined to such services. A lot of the double decker versus bendy bus video, articulated bus videos, which one is better? A lot of people, they don't go in depth, and because of that, now I have to go in depth to explain to you guys where exactly you should use bendy buses, because they are way too generalized and I don't like it. Again, just remember that in Singapore's context, doorstep is king. And this is the exact reason why 502 and 518, they have to call all of these areas because that's where the demand comes from. I know I'm sidetracking a little bit, but you don't change these routes. You don't give them a different purpose and make them skip all of these stuff. You don't do this. I can't stand it when people, they just go around LTA data mall, which it's a useful tool, but this is not how you use data mall. Oh, you just sit back at home, you just you just analyze and observe figures and use it to determine, oh, we don't need this sector because nobody uses the bus along this route. No, you have to understand what purpose these bus services are serving in the first place. Yes, you could do demand studies, but usually these people, they only do demand studies for like a day or a week and then they call it a day and then they just jump to conclusions. No, I have been taking service 851 even way before the leader of that server was born, okay? I know 851 way better than that person claims to know 851. I know people take 851 because it's doorstep and not because it's fast. And I know 851's demographics are people who are shopping at Little India. They alight at Little India MRT station. Maybe they transfer to another bus, but usually they are going towards there. And it's also catered towards a lot of elderly because 851 passes by a lot of hospitals. I mean, Kutek, but you could count that as well. And hospitals along Novena, KK Hospital at Kampong Java Road, and even Outram Road, there's a hospital as well. Okay, How many other hospitals are there along the route? Ang Mo Kio Polyclinic as well. Outside. Polyclinic, yeah. I know 851 better than them. This is why, to fully understand the bus service, you have to be a regular commuter for most of the route. Maybe even if it's just a small sector, we could also learn a lot from it. But you have to take the bus service regularly enough to truly understand what's the purpose of that bus service, not just sit back behind a screen and just read data mall and reroute buses according to your own liking, or reroute buses just to fulfill your like selfish agenda.
Oh, I want all buses to be rapid, and I want every single feeder to be integrated into a trunk or a CDS.
Seriously, stop this kind of thing. Back to topic. Feeder bus integration. These are very, very niche and exclusive cases. It should not be like a whole policy and planning thing and implemented like countrywide, nationwide, citywide, whatever you call it. I mean, Singapore is a country, but sometimes people refer it to as a city or a nation. I don't know. You get the idea. It's case study time. I've talked about these before, but I'm just going to repeat them very briefly. Which is now service tree. Okay, 357, it used to loop like this. And I have told you guys that like nowadays 359 actually does this loop as well. So all is good. But in the past 357, it only serves this bus stop and it only serves this bus stop. But there is actually demand from residents, or maybe even SBS, they felt like when they converted 357 into service tree, SBS felt that like, hey, there is actually potential because instead of stopping at this stop, this is where most of the buses are at. This is where most of the buses are at. We're gonna convert it to become bi-directional instead of like looping it at here. So opportunity presents itself. SBS made full use of the opportunity, and now it's actually very convenient to access Pasir Ris Street 21 from Pasir Ris Drive 1 and Loyang Avenue. From Loyang Avenue and Pasir Ris Drive 1, you have two pairs, one pair, second pair. You have two pairs of bus stops whereby you could transfer from the other services that are at either Loyang Avenue or Pasir Ris Drive 1. I mean, Loyang Avenue has more buses that they have like 9, 19, 59 that they don't go inside Pasir Ris Drive 1, right? So giving you a choice, there are two pairs of bus stops. You could take a bus to Loyang Avenue or Pasir Ris Drive 1, and then you could transfer to Service 3, which is the new and improved Service 357. This is the reason why they integrated 357 and 294. When you do feeder bus integration, there are drawbacks as well. The old 294 was basically like, like this, and then like this. So basically its purpose is to bring people along from this side of the road, from these areas to this bus stop and this bus stop. Even nowadays, you could take service 3 here and then hub spoke to service 20 to go towards Simei. That's one thing. Okay, but anyways, let's talk about this bus stop more. When they converted 294 to service 3, basically, there is no longer this left turn. So they broke this left turn. And the negative impact is that, yes, you keep the sector, but people are no longer able to hub spoke from this bus service, from this bus stop over here to go inside Tampines Street 23 and to go inside Street 21. That is the downside, because right now you have to go here and you need to take 291 to reach here in the first place. And not just that, you either have to take a bus to this bus stop and then cross over. You could use the DTL underpass. That's one way, I think. And then you transfer to service 3 like this. So here's the thing. The downside is that when you converted service 294 to service 3, anyway, I have to talk about the downsides because these are the negative impacts of feeder bus integration, like feeders becoming trunks. But basically, there's no more left turn. But SBS probably thought that there wasn't even a lot of people making use of this left turn in the first place. And then they found more potential in buses coming from here. Like there are lots of buses that serve this stop, right? And in fact, I could even show you. 8, 9, 12, 17, 34, 38, 39, 59, 518. Although I doubt people would be taking 518 just to hub spoke to service tree because parser is right. So okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, I'm just like using this as a very broad example. I'm not really going into detail. You have 8 bus services that could link up to the new service tree from this bus stop. They found it more worthwhile that, hey, I think more people are, because this is like kind of walking distance, right? So I believe more people want to go from this bus stop to inside here and then to inside here as well. So they found it more worthwhile to transform 294 into a trunk service known as service tree. So now it's like this, and now it's like the other bound is like this. And the opportunity presents itself again. You could link 294 and 357, but this is an exclusive case. It's only because it's convenient for SBS to do this, and there is an actual opportunity for them to do this properly. SBS thought of like the consequences of losing this, but in compensation, they made it so that there is this new right turn that you could take advantage of, and possibly a lot more people would want to use, as opposed to like here, whereby it's mostly just walking distance, right? You get my point. And obviously service tree eventually got extended from looping at Pasir Ris Street 71 to Punggol, right? Again, opportunity presents itself. TP bus stop, hubs. I know that was just a thing that's after 2014, but again, it did pay off in the long run. Now service tree is super good. No amount of MRT can ever take away TP bus stop. This is not just for the trunk services that pass by there. 168, 858, 969. And even in the case of service tree, people literally take service tree from inside Punggol to hub spoke to outside the TP bus stop. I mean, they also take 34 as well, but service tree, like TP bus stop in itself is a hub. It's not a train hub, it's a bus hub, but it's still a hub. Buses and trains, sometimes they are connected, sometimes they are separate, but a hub is still a hub. Doesn't matter the mode of transport, even airports are hubs. Airports are hubs as well. Even like for ships, they are ports, or like ferry terminals, they are hubs as well, okay? Doesn't matter the mode of transport, they are hubs. TP bus stop is a hub. I mean, see, here's the thing. Pasir Ris Street 71, there are alternative bus stops nearby at where is it? Okay, fine. I'll just show you guys. This bus stop over here got deleted, like here. You get what I mean? You look at where the star is. There is one bus stop along here that got deleted, but you're still able to take the bus from this bus stop pair, which is convenient, or this bus stop pair as well. So it's not really a big loss for like service tree. This is how you integrate feeders together. When they integrated service 220 with 290, okay, so they gave up one bus stop outside Bedok Green Primary because SBS found out that it wasn't that useful. SBS also found out that for this bus stop and this bus stop, you could just cross to the opposite side, and then if you want to go to like Bedok South Avenue 3, right, there is now service 25 that goes from here to here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, service 25 from here to here. And then they also found out that like from here to Bedok, there is already like service 9, service 222 that goes to Chai Chee as well, and service 35. They are like, okay, we don't really need 220 at these two bus stops. We don't really need the bus stop outside here. And since 220 is already along Bedok South Avenue 3, right? And we want to link these people, because I know there's already service 12, but let's give them another service to Tanah Merah MRT. So they are like, okay, 220, it used to call only this bus stop, but then now we're gonna make it call both direction. Like even over here and over here, we're gonna make, here, here, and here. One direction is not enough. We want to give a bus to like this direction as well, so that these people over here could access Bedok interchange more conveniently as opposed to like riding 220 through the loop. Opportunity presents itself. Bidirectional here as well, linked to Tanah Merah. And where do you extend the route? Conveniently, you actually have 290 used to loop at Simei Street 4. So it's like, okay, it's a really, really good opportunity to make Simei Street 4 and Simei Street 1 bidirectional. And this was the end of the route, right? And we are taking the end of the route of 290 and the end of the route of 220. We already thought about like the negative consequences that, consequences are negative, right? The negative effects of like destroying the looping point of 220 and 290. We found that it was more worth it, like SBS perspective. They found that it's more worth it to integrate 220 and 290 together, because it's like, it's simple. It's just Bedok South Avenue 3, Upper Changi Road East, and Simei Road. It's just simple. Just 2 straight roads, and then we can link these services together. And it gives people a link from Bedok South to Simei as well. Again, opportunity presents itself. And then the other thing is service 385 with 226. They loop along the same road, so they just merge them together. That one is actually pretty simple. 63 as well. It's like, there used to be a bus stop at Ubi Road 3, which is not too useful because you could literally just nowadays just board 36 at this bus stop, right? So they are like, okay, 36 used to loop at Circuit Road, Pipit Road, and hold on. 36 used to loop at this, but they're like, okay, we take the opportunity to link up 63 to make it so-called bidirectional. I talked about it in the other video. We're taking the opportunity, we're taking the opportunity to make 63 bidirectional, link it up with the old service 382, and then basically giving them a new link to like Yunos. Opportunity presents itself. They found out that it was okay to delete that one bus stop. Wait, is it one bus stop or two bus? Sorry, 2 bus stops, because there's one at Ubi Avenue 2 as. I think there's 2, right? Shit, I might be wrong, but okay. Anyway, 63 and 382. It was convenient to tie them up together. I hope you guys understand the real reason why feeder bus integration is carried out, and not make this like an entire nationwide thing. You see 301 loops at here, and just like in the case of service 294, if you want to extend 301, and I think 301 actually has extension potential provided the residents are okay with paying trunk fare from now on. They have 300 as well, which has to remain a feeder because I've talked about it in the previous video about how it's convenient for people to transfer from 67, 188, and 976 at Choa Chu Kang Way to transfer to 300 to go to Choa Chu Kang Avenue 3 and 4 as well. I've talked about that in the previous video. I don't want to repeat myself again. But basically, if you feel that 301 has extension potential, and likewise I kind of feel that too, it's fine. But I never asked you guys to extend 301 in a way that would break up the original 871 route. You don't extend a feeder to replace another trunk. You link 2 feeders together, like you connect 2 feeders together via a main road to give them new connections. You do not use a feeder to cut another trunk service to replace part of that trunk and then to replace part of that trunk service. I repeat, do not use a feeder service to slice a trunk service into half and take over half of that trunk service. Do not do that. The trunk service is meant to link from, let's say, Bukit Batok West to Bukit Batok East. Do not cut it off using a feeder service and only compensate Bukit Batok West in that sense. because you are just misunderstanding of what 871 is supposed to do in the first place. You want to integrate 301 to something, I would recommend 181, because 181 is scheduled to, I don't know when exactly it will happen or like the exact route, but there is a plan for 181 and even 171 as well to be extended to Tengah. So if you want to link 181 from Tengah to 301, you could, because it's convenient to do so and it makes sense. And it's not like destroying the purpose of 301 either. I don't touch 301 at all. I'm just gonna simply, Keat Hong close, right? I make it so that people are able to transfer here. Okay, you get what I mean. And to just simply extend it without any real consequence. That is the key. And it's really convenient that 301 has this looping point at Kiat Hong Close, which means it's kind of like extendable anyway. In this context, and only in this context. One last thing, and I need to clarify this before things get out of hand. Yes, 28, it was integrated with 152 and extended to Toa Payoh, because 152 used to be Toa Payoh. I don't know if it was Chai Chee or what, but I'm pretty sure at one point, up till year 2000, if I'm not mistaken, it was like Bedok to Toa Payoh, right? Then these two got integrated together, but I don't want people to use 28 as an excuse to make all the trunk services that are going along Tampines Avenue 7 to be like,
oh, let's eat up service 293E. Let's eat up service 291E, like the East Loop.
I don't want people to do this. Like, there is a reason why all the buses most of the buses ply along Tampines Avenue 7. They have to take the most direct route. Service 4, Service 19, Service 37. Their main purpose is to be direct. Beeline straight to Tampines Interchange. Nobody asked you to make this thing wind inside Tampines and make this thing wind inside Tampines, make this thing wind inside Tampines. Nobody asked you to do these. These are trunk services. They are not feeders like 291 or 293, which are meant to wind inside. And I do understand that there is service 29 that goes like this. But service 29 in itself kind of acts like a feeder in the first place, like kind of similar to this and this, right? 29 has its own purpose. And that purpose is different from service 4, 19, and 37, which are meant to beeline from this point to Tampines Interchange. I don't want to repeat myself again, okay? Just because you have service 28 nowadays that got, once it got integrated with 152, that got amended to serve inside like this, SBS just took this as an opportunity to serve this area and this area better. This is an exclusive case. It should not be applied for every single other bus this should not be emulated with other bus services in Singapore, okay? This is a very exclusive case. And in case you didn't know, okay, fine. Service 18 is now like this, right? Well, in the past it was like this. And in the past, 18 was like this. It was a lot simpler. 28 was like this. The only difference between 18 and 20, yes, 18 and 28, they were kind of clones of each other from Tampines to Bedok. The only difference between 18 and 28 is between this sector and between this. I know I didn't draw it properly, but okay, fine. You get the idea, right? 28 goes up here, 18 goes up here. And over time, they just decided to serve inside. No problem. This has got absolutely nothing to do with feeder bus integration. SBS just decided on their own accord that there is potential demand. You see how many flats there are inside here. For 28 to go inside, for 28 to go inside, and for 18 to go inside as well to hub spoke to Tampines East MRT station. It was convenient for them to do so. In the past, 18 was like this and 28 was like this. Just because 28 used to be Tampines to Bedok and got integrated with 152 and got amended to serve inside, that doesn't necessarily mean you should apply this to every single other bus service, okay? SBS found that there's service 8, right? So we might as well just make service 18 wine. This is honestly not too useful.
and people, maybe there are like actual not complaints, but like the people here are kind of underserved, right? So instead of serving just the main corridor, they are like, okay, I should be drawing like this, but like instead of just serving the main corridor, they extend it eastwards, kind of thing. From here, they shifted it to here because here there are not many it's just school, right, along the side of the road. But when you're here, you manage to touch like a wider range of like residents. You get what I mean, right? So this isn't too useful. They wanted to serve more people. Service 28 was extended to go inside here because the SBS wanted it to serve more people. More people. Getting these people to hub spoke to outside here and hub spoke to outside here as well. Okay, like, and it's also to bring these people to the community club, Neon Secondary, East Spring Secondary, East Spring Primary, Temasek Junior College. I don't count this Diamond Secondary, but to give these people better access to the main gate of Neon Secondary, even this school, East Spring Secondary, and basically all the flats located here. I don't want people to misunderstand because whatever I just said is the real reason why 28 went inside. It's not because, ew, trunk eat up feeder, trunk eat up feeder, trunk becoming more like a feeder. Well, that's correct, but there is an actual reason and intention behind it. Because this is like kind of lame and useless, right? Only in this case was it applicable, and only in this case was it applicable for 28 to go inside. And why SBS Transit, shit, it was 2001 or 2, I forgot when SBS rebranded themselves, but let's just say SBS, okay? I'm a classic person. I will go by SBS, TIBS, SMRT. TIBS and SMRT are the same thing to me. SSB and CSS, they are, and Bus Plus, they are under the same SMRT wing. They're under the same Temasek Holdings wing. SBS Transit is a subsidiary of ComfortDelGro. They are kind of different things, but again, I would just see it as like a subsidiary of it. You get what I mean? They are the same thing, so let's not separate them. Okay, but anyways, just because they integrated this with this, and just because they gave 28 a feeder service character for an actual reason, doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, because 28 does this, I am going to make service for wine like that. I'm going to make service 19 wine like that. I'm going to make service 37 wine like this. No! These buses, they are meant to be line, okay? 28 is, it's a one in a million. It's a very exclusive case. Don't use service 28 to explain other bus services. Do not use 28 to explain other bus services. I cannot stand it when people say, "Oh, 28 is a role model that 28 is a role model that other bus services have to follow at all costs." And this is part of what our bus network integration, our feeder bus integration, our rapid bus network integration is supposed to do. No, you don't do that. You understand the purpose of each and every single bus service. Okay, some services beeline. Some services whine a little bit. Some services whine a bit more. Some services are windy as hell. It's fine. Understand the different purposes of bus services and not make one service copy the other for no reason. And I kid you not, 18 and 28, they were already inter-towns from the start, not feeders per se. That's why they even thought of like extending 28 like this in the first place. I know that there is like 294 and 357, they linked them up together, but I already explained. It's like a very unique case that it's convenient for them. I hope after all my yapping, you guys finally understand not to make trunk services or CDS services eat up feeder services. You idiots. And it's fine if you don't fully understand the purpose of like bus services. Fine. Why do all the buses go to Tampines Avenue 7 and not via Central 1? Well, the amenities are along here. Look at all the amenities you have near the Tampines Mart as well. It's not just like the CC outside. The reason why they even amended 28 over here in the first place is because there is Tampines Mart inside. That's why they are like, okay, good opportunity to send service 28 here so that even people along Avenue 9, they have better access to Tampines Mart and not just like going outside and then you have to like what? No. 28 was amended because of all these amenities. They're like, okay, here is not that good. But when we bring 28 closer to the residents' doorsteps, they have access to way more amenities, and it also allows people from inside these areas, if they're Catholic, they go to church, right? There's a Catholic church here. I mean, there's Victory Family Center, I think here as sorry, I think this one, there's a church here as well. But if you're Catholic, I think you would most likely go to this church, right? Yeah. And then mosque as well. There's a reason why 291 is even 291 in the first. There's a reason why the East Loop and the West Loop of feeder services, they got integrated to become 291. Townlink 291 is because direct mosque access. I know this is a different context, but like I'm just trying to say that amenities in different areas, they kind of like determine the bus routes, that kind of thing. And amenities could be a bus interchange, an MRT station, an MRT station, an MRT station, or even a park, you know. School. You get what I mean, right? Oh my god. Bottom line is, the one takeaway that I want you guys to have from this video is, do not use service 3, 38, 60, 63, and 28 integrated with 152 and going inside Tampines Street 45, 34, and 32. Do not use this to explain what or to like push your suggestions that like, oh, this is what other bus services must be. These 5 services are like, oh, the role models that other services must follow. No. These 5 services are exclusive cases. How many bus services are there in Singapore? A bit more than 350, okay? If I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but it's only 5 of them. 5 exclusive cases. Do not use this 5. If you guys do the math, do not use this 5 to explain what the other 345 plus services must follow or do. Okay? I beg you guys. I know this lesson is long, but I have a reason why I do this lesson. So that people stop getting brainwashed by those people, okay? Bye.